That fall looked perfect, too perfect to belong to him. Do not scroll away yet. Stay with us for a moment, because what you are about to hear is not only a rumor about a stunt. It is a case study in how belief can fracture, how a reputation can be cross-examined like evidence, and how a crowd can turn 15 seconds of shaky footage into a global inquest. It began late at night, the way many modern storms begin. A clip surfaced across multiple platforms, stripped of context and uploaded without a clear origin. The video was short, grainy, less than 15 seconds, but it carried the kind of danger that makes the human body tense just from watching. A figure, believed to be the actor Yu Menglong, stood at a height that looked unforgiving. Then the body tipped forward into a fall that seemed both violent and strangely controlled. For most viewers, it was just another behind-the-scenes fragment, another glimpse into the machinery of entertainment. But for those who had followed Yu Menglong for years, for those who could recite his past performances with a kind of devotion that borders on training, something felt wrong. Not wrong in an obvious way, not a clear mismatch, not a face revealed in bright light. Wrong in the way a familiar voice can sound slightly different over the phone. Wrong in the way a signature can look correct, yet still feel forged. Fans began to write about posture first. The stance in the opening frames. They said his usual presence was upright, loose, almost casual, even under pressure. In the clip, the shoulders looked tighter. The weight distribution seemed practiced, measured. There was a stiffness that some interpreted as professional conditioning. Not acting, not performance, technique. Then came the camera angle. Low, unhelpful, convenient. It made the body look heroic, but it also made the face hard to confirm. That detail mattered, because when doubt enters, every choice becomes suspicious. Even choices that might have been ordinary on any other day. Within hours, the clip moved faster than any official statement could. It spread across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Weibo, carried not by newsrooms but by reaction videos and frame-by-frame dissections. The hashtag attached to his name and the word stand-in became a beacon, pulling in millions of eyes. And the silence from his team did not calm the noise. It sharpened it. In the age of instant response, silence is rarely interpreted as neutrality. Silence becomes a shape people can fill with whatever they fear, whatever they want, whatever keeps them clicking. Some called it confirmation, others called it strategy. A few insisted the clip itself was staged, but the majority did what crowds do best. They investigated. They slowed the footage. They zoomed in until pixels became mythology. They compared the fall to older stunts, placing them side by side like evidence photographs. They measured timing, arguing about physics and trajectory. They watched the hands, the feet, the angle of the torso. They focused on the instant of impact. That was where the clip truly became a problem. Because the landing did not look like panic. It looked like a lesson. The body hit the ground with a kind of textbook absorption. Not graceful, not gentle, but efficient. Controlled, minimal recoil. The kind of impact management that professionals spend years learning so that bones do not break, so that necks do not snap, so that the human body survives a fall. It has no right to survive. Then came the details that sound trivial, until they are not. The movement of hair, the behavior of clothing. The jacket did not behave the way fans expected. Some said the folds looked unnatural. Others said the hair flow felt inconsistent, as if something had been enhanced in post-production. A few pointed to the timing of the camera shake. They claimed it synced too perfectly with the impact, as if the violence had been edited for effect. In the middle of this, voices began to appear. Unverified, anonymous, yet irresistible. A stunt coordinator, speaking in the familiar language of caution, suggested that if the performer was Yu Menglong, then luck had played an unreasonable role. A digital effects artist implied that subtle enhancement would not be difficult, especially around fast-moving elements like hair and fabric. A longtime fan insisted the body language did not carry his signature flow, the thing they believed they could always recognize. None of it was confirmed. None of it was sworn testimony. But it did not matter, because this was no longer about a stunt. It was about identity. Yu Menglong to his audience was not simply an actor. He was a symbol, a performer with a reputation built on authenticity and physical courage. The type of person fans believed did not hide behind doubles. The type of person who took the hit so the audience could feel it. That belief was part of his brand, but it was also part of the audience's relationship with him. And now, that relationship was being interrogated. If a stand-in had been used, some viewers would call it common sense, safety, insurance, liability, the realities of production. But others would call it betrayal, not because stunt doubles are shameful, but because the mythology around him depended on the idea that he was always the one falling. This is how the internet turns artistry into evidence. This is how fandom turns into forensics. This is how a brief, ambiguous clip becomes a cultural moment. And as the footage loops again and again, one question begins to feel less like curiosity and more like a threat. If it was not him, then who was falling? The clip does not change. It never does. What changes is the way it is watched. When the initial shock faded, curiosity took over. Then discipline. Viewers stopped reacting and started examining. The fall was no longer a moment. It became an object, something to be slowed, paused, reversed, and broken apart until meaning could be extracted from every fragment. We are not dealing with trained investigators here. We are dealing with fans. But fans who have watched the same body move across screens for years. Fans who have internalized rhythm, posture, and instinct without realizing it. Pattern recognition does not require formal training. It requires repetition. And repetition was something this audience had in abundance. The first frames became the foundation of suspicion. The figure stands at the edge, preparing for the stunt. There is no face in clear view. The camera sits low, angled upward, emphasizing height and danger while obscuring identity. On its own, this means nothing. But once doubt enters, neutrality disappears. Every technical choice becomes intentional. Every limitation becomes a mask. Fans focused on posture. They described it as upright but rigid, controlled in a way that felt rehearsed rather than reactive. In past stunts, Yu Menglong's body language had been described as fluid, even under stress. There was always a trace of improvisation, a sense that he was adapting in real time. Here, the stance appeared locked, balanced too evenly, ready in a way that suggested training for impact, rather than performance for camera. Then came the fall itself. The body tips forward, and for a brief moment gravity takes control. But observers began arguing that gravity did not look alone. The speed of descent became a topic of heated debate. Some viewers claimed the fall appeared slightly accelerated. Others argued the perception was distorted by camera angle and frame rate. A few went further, suggesting subtle post-production adjustments. None of these claims could be proven, but each one found an audience. Attention shifted to the limbs, the feet in particular. Several slow-motion breakdowns pointed out that the foot placement during the descent seemed precise. Too precise, according to those who believed this was not the actor himself. They argued that the positioning resembled professional stunt training, designed to distribute force and minimize injury. Supporters of the opposite view countered that Yu Menglong himself was known for studying stunt mechanics and could easily replicate such technique. The arms followed. In earlier action scenes, his gestures had been expressive, even chaotic. There was always movement that served character as much as safety. In this clip, the arms appeared restrained, functional, almost economical. To some, this was proof of a double. To others, it was proof of growth, maturity, and caution. This is the nature of ambiguity. It does not answer questions. It multiplies them. The moment of impact became the true dividing line. The landing looked clean, not painless but efficient. The body absorbed the shock with minimal visible recoil. No wild flailing, no uncontrolled collapse. It was the kind of landing taught to professionals whose careers depend on walking away from falls that should cripple an untrained body. Viewers replayed it again and again. They watched how the shoulders hit, how the torso rolled, how the head avoided snapping backward. Some described it as textbook. Others called it too perfect. A phrase that began to appear repeatedly in comment sections and reaction videos. Then came the smallest details, the ones that should not matter, but suddenly did. Hair movement, jacket behavior, the way fabric folded during the fall. A handful of viewers claimed the clothing reacted a fraction of a second too late, as if enhanced or corrected digitally. Others dismissed this entirely, arguing that compression artifacts and low-resolution footage made such judgments unreliable. The camera shake was examined next. It occurred at the moment of impact. That alone was not unusual, but some insisted the timing felt synchronized rather than organic, as if the shake had been added to sell the violence of the fall, as if the danger had been edited, not captured. At this stage, the discussion had outgrown the clip itself. Side-by-side comparisons flooded social platforms. Old stunts placed next to the viral footage. Fans compared body angles, fall timing, recovery speed. They created lists of differences, not as accusations, but as observations. Yet observation repeated enough times becomes belief. Professional voices entered the conversation cautiously. A stunt coordinator suggested that the landing technique was consistent with years of specialized training. A digital effects artist noted that partial enhancement would not be difficult, especially in fast-moving shots. Neither confirmed nor denied anything. Both simply explained what was possible. Possibility was enough, because the question was no longer whether the fall was dangerous. Everyone agreed that it was. The question was whether danger had been performed by the person the audience believed they were watching. And, as the clip continued to circulate, dissected into milliseconds and annotated with speculation, one uncomfortable idea began to settle in. The fall might have been real. The risk might have been real. The danger might have been real. But the identity of the body absorbing it was no longer certain. And, once identity becomes unstable, everything that follows becomes suspect. If the body in the frame was not his, then the clip was not just misleading. It was symbolic, a representation of risk without the presence of the one who built his image on taking it. And that realization carried weight far heavier than the fall itself, because it suggested that what the audience believed they recognized might have been a performance of authenticity rather than authenticity itself. And if that was true, then the mystery was no longer confined to 15 seconds of footage. It had begun to spread. The footage did not go viral because it was clear. It went viral because it was not. Ambiguity is fuel, and social media is an engine designed to burn it endlessly. Once the first analyses appeared, the clip stopped belonging to whoever had filmed it. Ownership transferred to the crowd. Every platform added a layer, not of clarity but of interpretation. TikTok slowed the fall down until time itself seemed uncertain. YouTube stretched it into 10-minute investigations. Instagram and Weibo reduced it to looping fragments, each loop reinforcing the same unanswered question. What happened here? On TikTok, creators dissected the fall frame by frame, sometimes analyzing movements that lasted less than 1/10 of a second. Lines were drawn on screens. Arrows pointed at elbows, ankles, shoulders. Text overlays appeared with phrases like, "Notice this," and "This is not normal." Some videos reached millions of views within hours, not because they proved anything, but because they invited participation. Viewers were not told what to think. They were asked to look again. That invitation mattered. On Instagram and Weibo, still images extracted from the clip began circulating independently. The fall was frozen into dozens of moments. Each freeze frame became a new battlefield. Comment sections filled with arguments about posture, balance, and proportion. Some claimed the body shape looked slightly different. Others dismissed that as distortion. But once an image is separated from motion, certainty dissolves. YouTube completed the transformation. Long-form creators packaged the rumor into investigations. They added timestamps, slow-motion replays, voice-over narration. The tone shifted from reaction to authority. Thumbnails asked questions in bold language. Titles framed speculation as inquiry. View counts climbed into the millions. What had been a rumor was now content. As the clip spread, something subtle but powerful occurred. The community did not just consume analysis. It produced it. Fans created side-by-side comparisons with past stunts. They measured fall speed and trajectory. Some attempted basic physics calculations. Others relied on intuition, arguing that they had watched this actor move for too many years to be mistaken. This is where pattern recognition turned into conviction. Humans are skilled at noticing deviations, especially when familiarity is high. When someone watches an athlete, a performer, or an actor repeatedly, the brain builds an internal template. When a new image fails to match that template, discomfort follows. Not necessarily because something is wrong, but because something is unfamiliar. For Yu Menglong's audience, unfamiliarity felt like betrayal. Identity attachment intensified the reaction. To many fans, he was not just a performer. He represented dedication, authenticity, and physical commitment. His willingness to take risks was woven into his public narrative. Questioning the fall meant questioning that narrative. And when identity is challenged, emotional responses escalate quickly. Social validation amplified everything. One comment became 10. 10 became a thread. Threads became trends. Each new video reinforced the idea that something was worth investigating. Disagreement did not slow the process. It accelerated it. Supporters and skeptics both fed the algorithm. The more people argued, the more visible the clip became. Memes entered next. Some were lighthearted. Others were sharp. A recurring joke emerged about a shadow double, a mysterious figure trained to replace the actor in dangerous moments. Images were edited to place a second identical figure behind him in older scenes. What began as humor spread the idea further than serious analysis ever could. Memes did what facts could not. They made the theory accessible. By the end of the first day, hashtags linking his name with the word stand-in had accumulated tens of millions of views across platforms. Search engines reflected the shift. Queries related to the fall, stunt doubles, and hidden footage spiked worldwide. This was no longer a localized rumor. It was an international conversation. Psychologists who study viral behavior often point to three conditions for explosive spread: mystery, personal relevance, community engagement. This clip contained all three. The mystery was unresolved. The relevance was personal for fans who felt they knew the actor. And the engagement was interactive, allowing anyone to contribute a theory, a frame, or a reaction. The result was a feedback loop. Each new analysis generated more doubt. Each new doubt generated more content. And each new piece of content reinforced the sense that the truth was just one more breakdown away. But the truth was not moving closer. It was drifting further into interpretation. At this stage, the fall itself had become secondary. The focus shifted to what it represented: trust, transparency, authenticity. The idea that something might have been hidden, not maliciously, but deliberately. The mystery was no longer about gravity or technique. It was about belief. And belief, once shaken, does not return easily. While fans argued in public, the industry watched in private. The entertainment business does not respond to rumors the way the internet does. It does not react emotionally. It calculates risk, cost, time, liability. What looked like a mystery to viewers looked to professionals like a familiar equation. Several voices began to surface from behind the curtain, not in official statements, not in press conferences, but through interviews, podcasts, and quiet commentary, often delivered on condition of anonymity. Stunt coordinators were among the first to speak. They did not debate identity. They discussed danger. The fall shown in the footage, they explained, combined height, trajectory, and landing complexity in a way that made it objectively high risk. Even actors known for performing their own stunts sometimes step aside under such conditions, not out of fear but out of obligation. One injury to a lead performer can halt production entirely. The cost is not measured in bruises, but in millions of dollars and hundreds of jobs placed on hold. From that perspective, using a stand-in was not deception. It was procedure. Insurance considerations reinforced this reality. Productions involving high-profile actors operate under strict coverage agreements. Certain stunts trigger automatic restrictions. If the risk crosses a predefined threshold, insurers may require the use of trained doubles regardless of the actor's personal willingness. In such cases, the decision is no longer artistic. It is contractual. This information did not end the debate. It complicated it. Cinematographers added another layer. They explained how camera placement, lens choice, and lighting can intentionally obscure identity during dangerous sequences. A low angle does not only make a fall look more dramatic, it protects the production by limiting clear facial exposure. Motion blur, shadows, and framing are tools that serve both storytelling and safety. Editors and visual effects artists spoke next. They emphasized that modern post-production can subtly enhance or alter a stunt without replacing it entirely. Hair movement can be adjusted. Cloth simulation can be refined. Impact timing can be tightened. These changes are often invisible to casual viewers. They exist to maintain continuity and intensity, not to deceive. But once again, explanation did not equal reassurance. Because fans were not only asking how such a fall could be achieved, they were asking why the truth felt inaccessible. Confidentiality agreements became part of the discussion. Crew members on major productions are legally restricted from revealing who performs specific stunts. These agreements exist to protect productions from liability and performers from misinterpretation. Ironically, they also create silence. And silence, as the internet had already demonstrated, invites speculation. Some insiders suggested that Yu Menglong's team maintained strict safety protocols. Dangerous sequences were reportedly reviewed in advance, with approval given only under controlled conditions. Others claim that directors often blend performances, allowing the actor to perform parts of a stunt while a double handles the most dangerous moments. The final cut becomes a composite, authentic yet fragmented. This possibility unsettled fans more than outright replacement, because it introduced a third option. Not actor versus stand-in, but a fusion of both. A reality where the fall was neither fully his nor entirely someone else's. A reality where authenticity existed in pieces stitched together by technique. In this version of events, the fall was real. The danger was real. The body absorbing the impact might have belonged to a professional trained for that exact moment, and the audience was never meant to notice. The industry saw nothing unusual in this. It was standard practice. But fans did not experience it as standard. They experienced it as disruption. This is where two narratives collided. On one side stood the professionals, focused on safety, efficiency, and legality. On the other stood the audience, focused on trust, image, and emotional investment. Both perspectives were valid. Both were incompatible. As the gap widened, theories evolved. Some fans proposed the idea of a shadow double, a performer trained specifically to mirror Yu Menglong's physical signature. Others suggested partial digital enhancement layered over a real performance. A few speculated about intentional ambiguity, arguing that the leak itself may have been allowed to test fan reaction or build anticipation. None of these theories were proven, but none of them faded, because the industry, by design, does not clarify such matters. Ambiguity protects productions. Transparency invites scrutiny, and scrutiny can be dangerous in a business built on illusion. In the end, the professionals returned to their work. The fall became another entry in a long list of managed risks, another controlled hazard absorbed by a system designed to survive it. But for the audience, the story did not end, because once viewers begin questioning what they are shown, they rarely stop at a single clip, and the realization that something could be simultaneously real, staged, and edited created a discomfort that no technical explanation could resolve. Sometimes, the truth is not hidden. It is simply edited. By the time the clip had circled the globe, the question had already changed. It was no longer about whether Yu Menglong had performed the fall himself. It was about what people believed they were owed when they watched him fall. Authenticity had become currency, and the audience wanted to know if it had been spent honestly. No official statement arrived to resolve the matter. None was strictly required. In the logic of the industry, the incident was minor, a managed risk, a protected asset. Another example of how modern filmmaking balances danger with control. From that perspective, the system had functioned exactly as intended. But public belief does not operate on contracts or insurance clauses. It operates on narrative. For years, Yu Menglong's image had been built around presence, not just his face, but his body. The sense that when the camera rolled, he absorbed the danger directly, without substitution. That belief mattered, because it created intimacy. It made viewers feel closer to the risk, closer to him. The viral clip interrupted that intimacy. Even if a stand-in had been used, the choice itself was not scandalous. Safety is not shameful. What unsettled audiences was the realization that they might never know, that the boundary between performance and protection was intentionally blurred, that what felt personal had always been mediated. Some fans accepted this quietly. They argued that professionalism should never be mistaken for deception, that no role is worth permanent injury, that admiration does not require bodily sacrifice. Others did not let go so easily. They returned to the clip again, searching for certainty that might no longer exist. They debated not only what happened, but why it mattered so deeply. In doing so, they exposed something larger than a single stunt. They revealed how modern fandom functions as a system of shared belief, and how fragile that belief can be. Producers and directors watched carefully. Viral narratives influence decisions, not because they are accurate, but because they are loud. Some insiders suggested that future productions might address stunt transparency more openly. Others predicted the opposite. Less explanation, tighter control, fewer opportunities for ambiguity to escape into public view. For the actor at the center of the storm, the consequences were quieter but heavier. Reputation is not damaged only by proof. It is damaged by doubt. And doubt lingers. It follows future performances. It shapes how scenes are interpreted. A fall that once inspired awe might now inspire analysis. Applause might arrive with questions attached. This is the paradox of visibility in the digital age. The closer audiences feel, the more intensely they scrutinize. The more authentic someone appears, the more personal the disappointment when that authenticity feels threatened. In the end, the clip achieved something no marketing campaign could have planned. It turned a technical moment into a cultural mirror. It forced viewers to confront why they care so much about who absorbs the impact and what that says about their relationship with spectacle. The fall itself fades quickly in memory. 15 seconds do not last long. What remains is the aftermath, a reminder that belief is not built on evidence alone. It is built on trust. And trust, once questioned, does not recover with a simple explanation. It recalibrates. It changes shape. In the world of entertainment, danger can be rehearsed, doubled, and edited, but belief cannot. And in the end, the most dangerous fall was not from a height or onto concrete. It was the quiet drop from certainty into suspicion.